Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today I want to talk to you about 10 things you won't see on this channel. So this is a completely stolen video idea. I've seen a couple of other booktubers do this video recently and I thought it was quite an interesting subject. So the two people I've seen, or the two channels I've seen doing it, are Bookish Realm and Happy for Now. So I'll link to both of their videos in the description for this one. But I thought it was an interesting way of just talking about my ethos for how I run the channel, the kind of things you can expect to see on the channel, but also the things you won't see on this channel. There are 8, so there's 10 things on this list in total. There are 8 things which I consider to be positives, if you like, and 2 things which are negatives. So I'll do the 8 positives first and then get to the 2 negatives. So let's talk them through. So the first thing I won't do on this channel is shame people for what they read. So I'm very much of the opinion that if people are reading, that's a good thing. There is no such thing as bad reading. People can read, as far as I'm concerned, whatever they want to. My goal in the channel is to talk about books that I've enjoyed in particular, and maybe to open up those books to new readers, and also to an extent to champion the kinds of books that you don't often see talked about on BookTube. I started this channel very much talking about kind of trashy books like this. So this is the book I just finished. So I finished this morning. This is The Executioner, number 17, Jersey Guns by Don Pendleton, which is a very trashy men's adventure novel. I love this kind of thing. So it would be a strange thing for me to do, wouldn't it? For me to criticise other people for what they read when I read stuff like this. But I think there's value in every kind of book, and every reader has a different, will take something different from the books that they read. That's a wonderful thing. Reading is a wonderful thing, whatever you read. Even if you read classics, I won't come after you. Next up then, next thing is, I won't criticise people for how they run their channels. So I'm very much of the opinion that, just like with reading, every book is different for every reader. Every reader has a different approach to the kind of books they want to read and how they structure their reading. And similarly, everyone who does BookTube has a different approach to doing BookTube. Some people will put a huge amount of effort into their videos and will do, really long, really in-depth, well-researched videos. Other people will be more like me, and will do kind of more off-the-cuff kind of things. But there's a place for all of it. Just like every book has a reader out there, every booktuber has viewers out there. So I may sometimes on the channel give advice about things that I've done that I found to be, worthwhile for my channel, that I found, have helped me get new viewers and things like that. But I'm never going to criticise other people for how they run their channels. Now, I may sometimes disagree with views they espouse on their channels, and I may sometimes talk about that in videos. I've done that in the past. But I'm not ever going to criticise people for, for how they make their videos. Okay, number 3 then. Is I'm not going to pretend I'm something different from what I am. So I am I consider myself to be an enthusiastic amateur. I'm not an expert in the books I talk about. I don't have a degree in English literature or anything like that. I just enjoy reading and I enjoy talking about the books that I've read. And I've read, I have read a lot of books over the 50 years I've been alive. And that, that gives me various points of reference that I can talk about in my videos and things like that. But I certainly don't consider myself to be an expert. So when you watch videos on my channel, do not take them as gospel. This is just my view on things. And I'll never pretend that I'm anything other than, that enthusiastic amateur who just loves talking about books. And similarly, I won't, I'm not going to lie to you about the books that I've read. So I talk about on the channel every book I read. So every book I read gets referenced on the channel in some way. Sometimes I'll do a full review of it. Sometimes it will get talked about in a weekly wrap-up, and monthly wrap-up and things like that. And I won't go into a huge amount of depth, but I do talk about everything I've read. And I don't hide anything. I don't self-censor. I don't not talk about a book because I think people are going to judge me for reading it or anything like that. And similarly, I'm never going to pretend to you that I've read, some esteemed classic when I haven't. And, I'm quite open about the fact that, there are a number of classics I've tried to read recently which I've DNF'd. So I'm, if you'll pardon the pun, an open book, and I will always be honest about who I am and about my reading on the channel. And that's not to say that I'm not for a moment suggesting that there are loads of booktubers out there who aren't honest about what they read, but I know that it is an accusation that has been levelled at the past. Sometimes at some of the really big booktubers, people have questioned whether they really read all the books that they're talking about. Okay, next one then. So I will not hide my political views. Now, every time I talk about politics on the channel, even in a tiny way, it seems to lose me subscribers. So I'm not someone who is going to make, loads of really polemical videos talking about particular political topics and things like that. I'm not going to do that. It's not what I want to do on the channel. I want to talk about books, and I know that's why people watch my videos, because they want to. They want to listen about books. They want to watch someone talking about books, and they don't necessarily want a load of politics with that. And I get that. So I'm not going to thrust my politics into people's faces, but equally I'm not going to hide it. So if I'm talking about a book whose political views I disagree with, I'll probably mention that. If I'm reading a book where I feel that representation of different types of characters was poorly handled, I'll probably mention that. If I'm reading a book where I think representation was particularly well done, I'll probably mention that. And I don't necessarily consider that, talking about representation of different groups, to be a political act at all. Although some people in the comments have said they do think it's a political act. I disagree. I think it's just about having a fully rounded reading experience, really. So yeah, I won't hide my politics, but equally I'm not gonna make long videos espousing particular views or anything like that. And kind of related to that is I won't allow hate in the comments. So if I see comments from people that I think are objectionable or racist or sexist or just insulting or whatever, then I will delete those comments and I'll block the commenter from commenting on the channel again. And the reason for that is I want the comments to be a safe place. I've seen lovely conversations, kind of flourish in the comments between different commenters. Sometimes I get involved in those conversations, sometimes I don't. But I want the comments to feel like a safe space for everybody who watches my videos, to chat about the kind of things I'm talking about in the videos, the books I'm talking about, the topics I'm discussing. So if I see people coming into the comments and being dicks, then I'll kick them out. Now, disclaimer, I don't always see it. So I try and read all of the comments, and I pretty much do read all the comments, and I will take action if I see comments that I think are offensive. But I don't necessarily see, if someone leaves a comment and then somebody else replies to that comment, I don't necessarily see the reply. So if you see stuff in the comments that you think is objectionable, do feel free to reach out to me either on Discord or social media or something, or email me and let me know, and I can have a look, because I don't want that kind of stuff in the comments on my videos. I very much consider the comments to be an extension of the channel. They're part of the experience of the channel for people who are watching. So I want them to be in line with my views. Well, not necessarily in line with my views. That sounds like I'm censoring people, but in line with the general feel of the channel, which hopefully is a friendly and welcoming place. Okay, next thing then, I won't give bad reviews to indie authors. Now, this may sound like a strange thing to say, so I want to be really transparent about this. So the reviews I do on the channel will always be honest. I will always give honest reviews, and I will always talk about, the strengths of a book and the weaknesses of a book. Now, I get sent a lot of books by indie authors to review. And it's tough being an indie author. If you're a self-published author, it's tough. You've put a lot of effort into writing your book. You want it to land well with people. You want people to enjoy it. But it's a tough gig doing that. I've done it myself in the past, and it's tough. So if I get sent a book by an indie author and I read it, I will, as I said, I will give an honest review, and I will be honest about the flaws with that book as well as the strengths. Now, and this doesn't happen often, but if I get sent a book which is, very largely poor, has far more bad things that I could say about it than good things, then I will contact the author of the book and say that to him. I will say, look, you've sent me your book for review. I'm going to talk about it on the channel, but I don't necessarily have very many positive things to say about it. Are you okay with that? Now, as I've said before, I talk about all the books I read about on the channel, and I'm honest about the books I read about on the channel. But what I'm not going to do is do a full review for an indie book where I'm just ripping it to shreds, because that's not fair on the author, and it's you probably don't want to watch that either. So in those instances where my response to an independently published book is overwhelmingly negative, I would not publish a review of that book without speaking to the author first and making sure they were comfortable with that, because I don't want to piss on anyone's dreams, but I will still mention it in my weekly wrap-ups and things like that, and reflect on it briefly in those. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know in the comments. Okay, next one. So in keeping with the first comment, I'm not going to stop reading trash. I'm not going to try and read certain types of books purely for the channel. I'm going to read what I want to read. Now, I do sometimes set myself projects. So I've done the Disturbing Books project, which I'm still doing gradually and still enjoying. I'm doing my Patricia Highsmith project, which I'm really, really enjoying. But for instance, the classics project I gave up halfway through because I just wasn't enjoying it. So I will read the books I want to read, and I will keep reading books like The Execution of 17 Jersey Guns, and that's not going to change. That for me is a really important part of the channel, is talking about these kinds of books that don't get talked about much, but which still have merits. Okay, so that was the 8 things that I consider to be kind of positive things that I do on the channel. And I'm going to keep doing on the channel, or I'm not going to do on the channel, if that makes sense. So 8 things which hopefully people who watch the channel would get behind and would think, yeah, those are all good things. I get all those things. I understand why Olly's saying that. So the 2 things which are negative things, and I guess these are things that if I could change these things, I would, but I can't. So I'm going to be upfront about it. So the first thing is, I will not reply to every comment. So when I first started the channel, for the first probably year of the channel, I replied to every comment I got. Every comment on every video I read and replied to. And as the channel has grown over time, it's simply not possible anymore. So I do try and read all of the comments, but it's just not possible to reply to all of them. If I were to do that, I wouldn't be able to make as many videos, basically. And I'd rather continue making a lot of videos for people to watch than reply to every comment. And I don't think people necessarily expect creators on YouTube to reply to every comment. In fact, I think people quite often are surprised and pleased when I do reply to a comment. So whilst I'd like to be able to reply to every comment, it's just not possible. I just do not have enough time to do that, unfortunately. But if people do particularly want to get in touch with me, you can email me, and I'll always reply to emails. You can join my Discord server. So I've got an active Discord community with hundreds of people engaged and commenting, and I do play a part in that and reply to comments in that, where people tag me and reply to other comments as well. And I do always reply to posts within my Patreon community as well. So I've got a Patreon community. People are paying a subscription fee to be part of that. So I definitely 100% make sure I reply to all of those comments. So those ones I do reply to, but yeah, the actual comments on my videos, there's just too many. It's just not possible, unfortunately. And the final thing is that I will I can't stop doing, much as I would like to, is I can't stop saying so you will notice in my videos I say a lot. In particular, I notice it when I'm editing. I will I'll just say it again. So I'll finish a particular kind of train of thought and then go and then move on to the next one. So I could edit those out of the videos, but I don't. If I'm doing an edit anyway and there's an in there, then I'll position the edit in such a way that it removes the but I'm definitely not going to spend time going through my videos and editing out all the and I simply can't train myself to stop saying so yeah, that I'm afraid is not going to happen. Much as I might like it to, I'd like to sound more eloquent, but yeah, it's not going to happen. I am as I am. So yeah, you get me, relatively unfiltered in these videos. Done it again. Yeah, you get me relatively unfiltered, and I'm not gonna try and change the way I appear through the editing process. So there you go. There's 10 things about the channel that aren't going to change for better or worse. Do let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if there's any of those 10 you vehemently disagree with and think I should be changing. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.